I never thought a simple invitation, or the lack of one, could shatter a heart so completely. My name is Evelyn Harper, and at 70 years old, I've lived through enough joys and sorrows to fill a dozen lifetimes. But nothing prepared me for the day I discovered I wasn't welcome at my own grandchild's baby shower. For years, I'd poured my soul and my savings into my son Daniel and his wife, Clara. They were my everything after my husband passed away a decade ago, leaving me with a modest pension and the house we'd built together. I thought helping them start their family was my way of keeping our legacy alive. Little did I know, to them, I was just a convenient bank account. It all started 3 years ago when Daniel and Clara confided in me about their struggles to conceive. Clara's eyes welled up as she explained the fertility treatments they needed, IVF cycles that cost a fortune. "Mom," Daniel said, using that soft voice he knew melted my resolve, "we can't afford it on our own. The doctors say it's our best shot." How could I say no? I dipped into my retirement fund, writing check after check. The first round, $15,000. When it failed, another $10,000 for the second. By the third, which finally worked, I'd shelled out over $40,000 in total. I skipped my annual trip to the coast, ate simpler meals, and even sold some of my late husband's collectibles to make it happen. But when Clara called to tell me she was pregnant, her voice bubbling with joy, it felt worth every penny. "You're going to be a grandma, Evelyn," she squealed. I cried happy tears, already imagining holding that little bundle. As the pregnancy progressed, I threw myself into preparing. I bought the crib, a sturdy oak one with all the safety features, for $800. Diapers, clothes, a stroller that cost $500, bottles, blankets, the list went on. Every weekend, I'd drive over to their apartment with groceries or baby items, my arms full and my heart fuller. Clara would hug me tightly, calling me her guardian angel. Daniel would pat my back, saying, "We couldn't do this without you, Mom." I believed them. Why wouldn't I? Family was supposed to stick together. But then whispers of the baby shower started circulating. Clara mentioned it casually one afternoon while I was helping her fold tiny onesies. "We're planning a small gathering," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Just close friends and family." I smiled, assuming that included me. "Oh, wonderful! What can I bring? Should I make my famous deviled eggs?" She hesitated, then changed the subject. A knot formed in my stomach, but I brushed it off as pregnancy hormones. The truth hit me like a freight train a week later. Scrolling through Facebook, something I rarely did, I stumbled upon photos from the event. There was Clara, glowing in a floral maternity dress I'd helped her pick out, and partially paid for with a $200 treat-yourself gift. Balloons floated everywhere, gifts piled high on a table. Her parents were there, toasting with champagne. Her siblings laughed in group shots. Daniel beamed beside her, one hand on her belly. But me? Nowhere to be found. The caption? "Surrounded by our nearest and dearest, celebrating baby Harper. #blessed. #baby shower vibes." I stared at the screen, my coffee growing cold in my hand. Nearest and dearest. After all I'd done, the money, the time, the emotional support, I wasn't deemed worthy? I called Daniel immediately, my voice shaking. Why wasn't I invited? He stammered, "Mom, it was intimate. We didn't want to overwhelm Clara." Overwhelm her? I'd been her rock through morning sickness and doctor's appointments. Clara got on the line, her tone sweet but firm. "Evelyn, we only invited special people who've been there from the start." Special people. The words echoed in my mind, a dagger twisting deeper. I hung up, tears blurring my vision. That night, I couldn't sleep. I paced my living room, the one filled with photos of Daniel as a child, him in my arms, us at holidays, the family we'd been before Clara entered the picture. I'd given them so much, monthly rent help of $600 for their 2-bedroom apartment, totaling $21,600 over 3 years. Groceries averaging $300 a month, $10,800, plus miscellaneous emergencies like car repairs, $2,000, and Clara's prenatal yoga classes, $500. Adding it up in my notebook, it came to over $75,000. Money from my husband's life insurance, meant for my golden years. And for what? To be sidelined like an outsider? The next morning, I made a decision. No more. I canceled the automatic bank transfer for their rent. When Clara texted a few days later, "Hey, Evelyn, the landlord's bugging us about rent. Did the payment go through?" I didn't respond right away. My fingers hovered over the keys. Finally, I typed, "I think it's time you handle that yourself." Her reply was, "What? We need help. The baby's coming soon." I called her, my voice steadier than I felt. "Clara, remember the baby shower? You said it was for special people? Well, I only help special people too." Silence. Then a flurry of calls from Daniel. "Mom, this isn't like you. Clara's stressed. The pregnancy's high risk. We count on you." "Count on me? For money, not for love." I held firm. "Daniel, I've given enough. It's time for you two to stand on your own feet." He hung up angry, and for the first time, I felt a spark of liberation amid the pain. But they didn't let it go. A week later, they showed up at my door unannounced. Clara, belly prominent, looked teary-eyed. Daniel carried a box of my favorite chocolates, a peace offering. "Mom, let's talk," he said, stepping inside without waiting for an invite. I let them in, but my guard was up. Clara sat on the sofa I'd bought them years ago, another $1,200 I'd forgotten to tally. "Evelyn, we're sorry about the shower. It was a mistake. We were overwhelmed." Overwhelmed. There's that word again. "But we need you now more than ever. The nursery isn't finished and bills are piling up." I crossed my arms. "What about your jobs? Daniel, you're an engineer. Clara, a teacher. You make good money." Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "Things are tight with the baby coming. You've always helped." "Always?" As if it was my duty. I shook my head. "Not anymore. I've calculated it. $75,000 in 3 years. That's my retirement. Gone. And for what? To be excluded from celebrating my grandchild?" Clara's tears flowed freely now. "You're like a mom to me, Evelyn. Please don't do this." Like a mom, yet not invited to the shower? The hypocrisy burned. They left empty-handed, but not before Daniel muttered, "This isn't over, Mom. You're not thinking straight." The threats started subtly. Texts like, "We're worried about you living alone. Maybe see a doctor." Then more direct, "If you don't help, we'll have to explore legal options." Legal options for what? Being a mother who said no? I ignored them, focusing on myself for once. I joined a knitting group at the community center, where I met wonderful women like Margaret, who'd faced similar family greed. "Honey, you're not alone. My kids tried the same, calling me senile when I cut the cash flow." 2 weeks later, the real assault began. A knock at my door revealed a man in a suit. "Mrs. Harper? I'm attorney Reynolds, representing Daniel and Clara Harper. They've expressed concerns about your mental well-being." My heart pounded. "What?" He handed me papers. They're petitioning for guardianship, citing erratic behavior and financial irresponsibility. Erratic? Like stopping payments to ungrateful adults? I slammed the door, hands trembling. I called my old friend, attorney Lisa Grant, who'd handled my husband's estate. "Evelyn, this is elder abuse," she said after reviewing the documents. "They're claiming you're incompetent to manage your affairs, influenced by new acquaintances causing alienation." New acquaintances? My knitting friends? We laughed bitterly, but the fear was real. If they won, they'd control my money, my home, everything. Lisa helped me document it all. Bank statements showing the transfers, emails begging for more money, even screenshots of the baby shower posts. "We'll counter with a competency evaluation," she said. "I saw Dr. Ellis, a psychiatrist, who confirmed I was sharp as a tack. No signs of decline," her report read. "Mrs. Harper is fully capable." Meanwhile, Clara's calls turned desperate. "Evelyn, the hospital bills from checkups are due. Please, for the baby." I hung up. Daniel tried guilt. "Mom, Dad would want you to help." Invoking my late husband? Low blow. "Your father worked hard for that money so I could live comfortably, not fund your lifestyle," I retorted. The confrontation peaked when they showed up with Reynolds. I peered through the peephole, seeing Clara's swollen belly and Daniel's tense face. "Open up, Mom. We need to talk." I called Lisa, who advised, "Don't let them in. Record everything." Through the door, I said, "Leave or I'll call the police." Reynolds shouted legalese about welfare checks. Clara sobbed, "You're abandoning your grandchild." Police arrived, diffusing the scene. "Ma'am, are you okay?" an officer asked. "Yes, but they're harassing me." They left, but not before Daniel yelled, "You'll regret this." Lisa filed for a restraining order. "We have evidence of intrusion and threats." In the meantime, I installed security cameras. $600 well spent on peace of mind. My knitting group rallied. Margaret brought casseroles. Susan shared stories of her own victories. "You deserve better," they said. The court date loomed. I prepared meticulously, tallying every dollar again. $40,000 fertility, $21,600 rent, $10,800 groceries, $5,000 baby items, $2,000 car, $500 yoga. Total $79,900. "That's a small house," Lisa noted. In court, their lawyer painted me as unstable. "Mrs. Harper has isolated herself, cut off family support irrationally." Clara testified tearfully. "She's changed. We fear for her safety." Daniel added, "Mom's always been forgetful. Now it's worse." Lisa demolished them, cross-examining Clara. "When did you last visit without asking for money?" Stammer. "How much has she given you?" "We don't keep track." Lisa presented the ledger. Witnesses: Dr. Ellis on my competency, neighbors on my vitality. My turn. I spoke calmly. "Your Honor, I raised Daniel alone after my husband's death. I worked 2 jobs. Now at 70, I've realized love isn't transactional. They excluded me from joy, included me only in bills." The judge ruled no evidence of incompetence. Petition denied. Mrs. Harper is autonomous. Victory tasted sweet. Outside, Daniel approached. "Mom!" I walked away. Months later, the baby arrived. A girl, via social media. I felt a pang, but no regret. I traveled to Italy, knitted blankets for charity, lived freely. Daniel and Clara? They downsized, worked harder. Perhaps they'll learn. Me? I'm Evelyn, 71, loving myself first.